What's up, friends? Joshua Brown here, pressure washing pastor, and today I've decided to upload a free live event on what we call the pressure washing pastor. It's a framework on how to create jobs, make disciples, and serve the city. I don't think I've ever just gone live and went through the frameworks or the mindset behind what it looks like to open a business with a kingdom minded initiative. And so for the next few minutes, I'm going to be just walking through a webinar that we do for anybody who wants to open or scale a pressure washing business. We have a community, we have boot camps, we do a market analysis, and both of those we'll be talking about today. And if you know anybody that has a pressure washing business, love for you to type their name in here. Probably the heartbeat behind why I do what I do matters more than what I do. And the heartbeat is this: I believe that every pressure washing and every business owner in the country should live for something bigger than themselves. I think the real mark of whether or not you love people or not is whether or not you set up a business that keeps them front and center. And so at Brown's Pressure Washing here in Nashville, we've identified it's not about pressure washing, it's about people. And so, if you have any questions, hit me up. I do have a free community that you can jump inside of called the As You Go Network. All you have to do is go to asyougo.network. There is where we're building, dudes without dads, pressure washing pastor, and ultimately mobilizing ministers into the marketplace. And so inside this little live event, I'll talk about what a pastor is inside of the marketplace. Like, what does that mean? I'll talk about what it looks like to build a kingdom minded business, and then what it looks like to build leadership, marketing, sales, operations, services, and cash flow inside of a business. So I hope this adds value. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I probably won't see them until afterwards because I'm going to be spending most of my time just reading off of this. But I hope it adds value to you. I believe your identity of who you are and whose you are trumps everything. And so I hope that this philosophy of kingdom minded entrepreneurship is an encouragement to you. And if you know anybody who's a kingdom minded entrepreneur, please share this to them, because what God has to say about who we are and why we do what we do matters. And I believe that this does a decent job of talking about what that looks like. And so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So this is a live webinar on how to build a profitable pressure washing business. And the framework is really built on creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city. So if you had a whiteboard, if you had a piece of paper, everything can be funneled underneath create jobs, make disciples, serve the city. You're going to hear that over and over again. I want you to know that you aren't, when you're starting a pressure washing business, you're not just starting a business, you're building influence. Every surface you clean, every crew member you develop, every neighborhood you serve is a statement about who you are and what you stand for. This is your blueprint for building something that lasts far beyond your invoice. I'm going to focus on how to build a $500 to a $1 million pressure washing business in your city without burning out, guessing on your market, or doing everything yourself, which is very difficult to grow $1 million business and do it all yourself. Might be impossible, but I never want to say that because I've got friends that have done impossible things, and we all have that. And if that's you, good job. While creating jobs, making disciples, and serving the city, this framework is designed for operators who refuse to choose between profitability and purpose. Because the most successful businesses never do. You'll learn the exact systems, scorecards, and strategy that turns a one-truck hustle into a scalable, mission-driven enterprise. Let me share with you who this is for and who this is not. This is for someone that has a growth-minded mindset. They're hungry for the next level. They want leaders and they want systems. They don't want chaos. They want to build with impact and income because you shouldn't have to choose between the two. This is for individuals ready to make a dent in their community while also making a living. This is not for the hobbyist, someone who treats it like a side gig with no ambition. It's not for lone wolves who refuse to be coached or to collaborate with others. It's for people willing to track numbers, and it's not for anyone who's actually looking for shortcuts. The people that we are looking for are people that want to do it right and to set it up for scale. The real problem in most businesses that I've seen, and if you're part of a coaching community or a coach, you'll notice that these are the common thread that goes on with why most businesses fail. Number one is their identity. There's no identity outside of making money. They post pictures of their vehicles, of their wraps, of the cash flow, and it's like, we're making Benjamin. Like that, you have no identity outside of making money. After a while, that only goes so far till you find emptiness and brokenness. Also, another reason, there's no real leadership plan. There's no roadmap for developing yourself and the people who come into your business. You call them employees, you give them a position, you say follow the SOPs, and they're there forever. You have no plan to take them from a technician into their own owner operator or running multiple locations underneath your brand. It's for the reason people fail is because there's no scorecard. You have to create a scorecard. If you don't have one, you're flying blind without the numbers that actually drive decisions. And last but not least, there's no community, no network of high level operators sharpening each other. Money alone won't sustain you, mission will. But mission without systems will break you. This is the real problem behind most kingdom minded businesses. But what if your business became your parish or your ministry? Not a church job, not a title, not a religious performance, but actually a philosophy, a way of leading that transforms your crew, your customers, and your community from the inside out. What if every job site was a chance to model excellence? What if every team meeting was a moment to build character? What if your P&Ls was proof that purpose and profits aren't enemies of one another? They're actually partners. So, what is a pressure washing pastor? And I literally remember I was not sitting, I was kneeling on my floor in White House, Tennessee, asking the Father, what do you want me to do next? And I heard him say, call ministers into the marketplace. And I was like, well, what should I call it? He said, call it pressure washing pastor. And so this is what I've come to understand a pressure washing pastor is. And I want to remind anybody who's a Pharisee or a Sadducee that thinks that you can only be a minister if you're inside the church walls. What made the disciples so powerful is that the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they knew that the disciples were ordinary, untrained men, but they could tell that they had spent time with Jesus. And so in reality, a pressure washing pastor would be somebody who's spending time with Jesus so they can be like Jesus wherever they are. It's not your title, it's your character that carries you. And hopefully your character is his presence. So let me give you 4 key distinctives. They have a mission-filled owner. It's a business owner who sees his company as a mission field, not just a revenue stream. Every interaction is an opportunity to lead with purpose. Number 2, job creator with dignity. And that's why I try to encourage folks not to use the word employee, but to use the word family and team member. When you create jobs, you're providing not just economics, but also an identity for that individual. And their identity is not your slave. They're your team member, part of your family. It's a leader who creates jobs that give people more than a paycheck. They give people a path, a purpose, and a professional growth. They're leaders who disciple. A man who disciples his team, not by preaching every Sunday morning or Wednesday night or where that might be, but it's how they lead through integrity, ownership, and accountability every single day. It's life on a life, just like the Father showed us in his Son. They also they serve the city. Someone who serves the city not just with invoices, but with excellence and generosity becomes your brand's signature. No theology degree required, just complete ownership of wherever you are. Many of you know my story, some of you may not, but in 2016, I Googled top 5 businesses to start for $5,000 or less. I've joked about I should have started taking pictures of cats at that time, which might be true, but the Father really led me to pressure washing and my friend Keith Parker out in Winston-Salem, who really trained me on everything I need to do. But I didn't start this little business to become a pressure washing pastor or to be a minister in the marketplace. I actually thought I was leaving ministry. I thought I was leaving ministry. But somewhere between the first driveway and the 100th invoice, I realized that something had to change. Something had changed my trajectory. That business is a disciple making mechanism. We scaled, we built leaders from the ground up. We created jobs that gave people dignity, and with culture, changing families, not because we had a program, but because we had a philosophy. And the philosophy is what I'm sharing with you today. Create jobs, make disciples, serve the city. This is what we teach inside the As You Go network. Your number one job as a business owner is to create jobs. If you can create jobs, it gives you the ability to give dignified employment, develop leaders in your company, promote within, and give people more than a paycheck. You give them a future. Creating jobs is one of the most beautiful things about stepping outside of the 4 walls of a church, is that you can actually provide more and more income for those inside your city. It's beautiful. The next thing is, as you create jobs, you get to hire people and you get to disciple them. You'll teach what you know, but you'll reproduce who you are. This is called the proximity of disciple making. You get to model integrity daily, teach ownership mindset, develop leaders who can lead without you in the room. And lastly, you get to serve the city. You get to pursue excellence relentlessly, build a reputation that precedes you, and lead with generosity in every interaction. One of the things that we do here in Nashville is we will wash widows' homes in Nashville for free. The way this even came about was through Josiah washing somebody's house, hearing the Father say, give this away for free. It was a widow. And he said, will Joshua care? And because he knew me, he said, no, he wouldn't care. And we gave it away. He gave it away for free, which ended up creating this opportunity to say, why don't we do it for others inside of our community? It was all because Josiah used his proximity to be an ambassador for the king. And he ended up giving away the thing. And that's why we ended up washing widows' homes here in Nashville. And the philosophy isn't just inspiring, it's operational. It creates better culture, higher retention, stronger brand with long-term profits. This year, Brown's Pressure Washing in Nashville celebrates over $10 million in revenue, praise the Lord, and 10 years in business. Super thankful and grateful for the story. Why this scales better? This isn't feel-good leadership. This is a strategic advantage. The companies that actually scale are the ones that break through 501 million and beyond. They all share 5 things in common. If you've coached in a community, you'll see this is very true. Number 1 is they have a scorecard. They know their numbers and they review them every week, month, and quarter. Number 2, they have intentional leadership development. The goal is to bring somebody on and make them the best version of themselves, serving whatever position that their talent can serve based on your coaching. They have systems that are repeatable processes that run without the owner in the truck. These are called SOPs. They have a community inside their business. It's a circle of high level operators who sharpen and challenge each other. And number five, they lead with mission. They lead with vision. They have a purpose bigger than profits that fuels endurance when things get difficult, because in this life, you will have many challenges. But let's get practical. If you're watching this because somebody shared with you and you're like, man, that's really good on the identity, create jobs, make disciples, service, which I say it's everything. Here are some helpful grips on things that you can actually do to start growing your business right now. So this is helpful for anybody that's trying to scale, no matter what business that you're in. Vision without visibility is a gamble. If you don't know your key numbers every single week, you're not scaling, you're guessing, and guessing is expensive. The operators who win aren't the ones with the best equipment or the flashiest wraps, which we all like good equipment and flashy wraps, but they're actually the ones that know their numbers and make decisions based on data, not feelings. We all know this. Now, I want you to write down the following. If you're driving, don't write it down. Come back later. But I want you to write these things down as your homework assignment, things that you need to start working on today to grow your business or to scale your business. These are 5 KPIs that are must. They're not optional. You have to track this if you want to get outside the truck or go to multiple trucks. Number 1 is know your weekly revenue, not monthly, weekly. This is your pulse. If you only check revenue once a month, you're reacting instead of leading. Number two, jobs booked. This is called forecasting. You should know how many jobs are on the calendar, and this will tell you if the pipeline is healthy or if there's a famine coming. Number 3, your average ticket. What is the average dollar amount per job? And your goal is this is FRAP training, which David Elm inside of our coaching community teaches relentlessly, is to frequently, repeatably increase your prices, your average ticket over time. And so slowly and slowly and slowly make sure your prices are where they're supposed to be. Because when you start a business, you start low so you can grow. And then once you grow, you realize you can't sustain it unless you aren't the $99 house wash guy anymore. You have to increase it, your average ticket price. Number 4, your marketing spend versus leads. You got to know your number here. How much are you spending to generate each lead? If you don't know this, you're likely bleeding money. And number 5, these are the 5 things you must know in your business, is your closing rate percentage. I used to think we win 95% of all of our jobs, which Brady would be laughing out loud if he was here. Is we literally, I thought I was doing good because I won all the jobs, but selling them all for 149 doesn't help scale the company. It doesn't open up the doors to hire new team members. We can provide for our company or for 1 or 2 people, but if you're going to scale, you got to increase it. And so your win percentage really needs to go down so your ticket price can go up. If you don't track it, you don't know where it's at. Of every 10 leads, how many of them are turning into paying customers? This reveals your sales effectiveness instantly. Here's some bonus KPIs that I'm going to give everyone here. I put the 5-star review as like for Brown's Pressure Washing, it is our one goal to earn a 5-star review from every job. If I get anything less or we get anything less, we get frown face emojis. But you need to know your jobs completed each week, track them, see how many are cancellations, how many of them are rescheduled. Also, your upsell revenue. This is something a lot of business owners don't think about, but you should. On every job you go to, you should be looking for value you can add to your customer. You might notice that they don't have anything covering their downspouts for debris that's getting down there. You want to add value and let them know, Mrs. Jones, you don't have anything protecting your gutters. We offer, gutter guards or whatever screens or whatever protectant you might have, but you want to prevent leaves from going underground and being very expensive. So always think the roof is dirty. Hey, Mrs. Jones, while we're here, we can give it 20% off or whatever you want to do, but you want to measure your upsell revenue. Also, your cost per lead. You want to drill deeper than total spend. You need to know exactly what each lead is costing you on each channel that you advertise on. And more businesses go out of business for this next percentage than anything else, and it's your labor percentage. And when I started the business, my goal was to pay guys as much as we possibly could. And we were, which was actually drowning us because I was paying more than what we can afford to scale a business. I was I was like, man, I want our guys to make bank. And so we probably had it a little bit out of line. And so we created some other structures where they could, upsell or get 5-star reviews to make more money. And so if you don't know these numbers, you're not scaling. You're actually going to be guessing. And this is the 3 levels of growth. And unfortunately, most never leave level 1. The difference really is coaching, community, and systems. But find out where you're at on this scale. There's 3 types of levels. Level number 1 is the technician. You are the business. If you fall off the ladder, the roof, if you hurt yourself, your entire business is gone. You're the technician. You wash, you quote, you answer the phones, you do the books. Revenue stops when you stop. And most, unfortunately, live here forever. Number 2 is someone that actually grows a little bit and they start working inside on their business instead of inside their business. And they have systems, a team, and a scorecard. This is called the business owner. The business owner can run a day. The business can actually run a day without you doing anything. You're managing more than leading, not just doing. And level 3, and I would say this is the goal for high level leaders, is how do you become a marketplace leader? How does your business actually get to a spot where it's creating multiple jobs, it's developing multiple leaders, and it shapes the community they're in because people are actually loving and serving everyone that they meet? You're building a legacy at this point, not just a revenue. And so go ahead and take a look at these 3 levels of growth and ask the question, where are you and do you desire to be? And to get from where you are to where you want to be, it really is a roadmap. And it's often found by surrounding yourself with people who've done it. And I want you to imagine, if you're the technician or if you haven't started a, a business at all. But I remember when I first visited Keith Parker's house and saw that he had 4 or 5 trucks in the driveway, and people were driving to his house, grabbing a truck, and going off and doing work for the day. And he would be doing a lot of things that business owners do, but he had a little bit of margin to help me build a trailer, to be able to play with his kids for an hour here or an hour there. He was scaling it, and people were off making money without him actually being the one. I was like, this is bananas. I can't believe this is happening right now. I want to say the average truck might be doing $1,500 a day. So if you have 4 trucks a day, you're doing what, $5,500 or more? And forgive my math, I'm doing it quick. A day, 5,000. Just imagine your company doing $5,000 a day without you, $25,000 a week. That's $100,000 worth of revenue a month. That's $1 million a year if you keep that consistently month after month. So cool. And so also your weekly scorecard gets dialed in where you know your KPIs. We measure 12. There's 10 KPIs that are more of your traditional performance indicators, but we have 2 of them that we call kingdom performance indicators, where we're saying, how many people have you witnessed to? How many people have you prayed with? And it's not a you have to, but you get to if you want to. And so we want to celebrate if anybody shares their testimony or a word from the Lord with somebody. That's to be celebrated. Or they prayed with somebody. Let's go. Let's talk about good things inside of our scorecard, not just, how many leads came in or how many door hangers we put out and so forth. Also, your leadership meeting structure. Your team leads meetings, solves problems, and develops the next generation of leaders without you micromanaging. By the grace of God and some incredible leaders at Browns, we have a team that's doing that underneath the leadership of Brady, my business partner. We're here. Brady is doing an incredible job with a great group of leaders around him, and we've had a great group of leaders that have come in over time. And your income is predictable. It's not, and its impact is undeniable. This is what happens as your business scales. Your business is impacting families, your income is consistent, your mission is alive, and you're creating jobs, you're making disciples and serving the city. And before you buy equipment, if you've if you've already bought equipment, hang on with me, but I would encourage you, and these are things I did not know then that I know now, is before you buy the equipment and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, you really should purchase what's called a market analysis. You need to get clarity on what's called a total addressable market. I remember the first time that term was introduced to me that I recognized it was with the guys at AMP with Sid and Mike Dalkey and that group. They had this book that they marked in total addressable market. I'm like, TAM, what's that? And you learn that, if someone is investing money into purchasing a company, the first thing they're going to want to know is what's their total addressable, how big can it be? And then once you know that, you aim for 10%, and then you know how to build your business plan around that. You get clarity on your market. A market analysis is what we sell is $250 for your first county and $100 for each additional county. We first did this for us 3 years ago, and what I did is I stopped spending money in markets that didn't have a lot of bass or a lot of bucks, big bucks, and I just focused in on the places that had the biggest fish or the most amount of bucks in their woods. And so it gave me super good clarity on where to spend money and where to spend time. But a market analysis should give you a market size breakdown, your competitors overview, a pricing model recommendation, a revenue projection, and a clear roadmap. You should be able to say, I'm going to open my Google location right there because there's a high population or density of my avatar customer, and your market analysis will help you with that. We also have, which I believe is, if you have the capital, is the most valuable experience you can have. It's one thing to pressure wash for a day. It's another thing to experience what it could look like inside your business. And so we offer a 3-day boot camp where you can come into Nashville and you get 2 days of hands-on training on what it looks like to do all the services. But what's cool is you get to meet our team, you get to meet people, you get to put the thing in your hand and actually experience what it looks like. And once you go 8 gallon per minute or more, you ain't going back because it's an experience that is a lot easier than if you're using, a lower gallon per minute or a high PSI pressure washer. And so you get hands-on training on all of our services, and then you get a day of CRM, leadership, marketing, and sales coaching. And so it's $3,500 for your first individual, and then $1,000 to bring each person from your team. And I've asked each person who's ever come to our boot camp on the first day, I'll say, what's the value of day one? And they all say the same number. They look at me and they say $10,000. And it really is that valuable because you get vision and you get kind of this sense of, I can do this. And then something that we also have is a coaching community. It's actually a weekly coaching community where we have a marketing director, we have a frap coach, we have myself, and we have a group of other pressure washing pastors, or they wouldn't refer themselves to pressure washing pastors, but if you see my definition, they would say, okay, yeah, that works. That we meet on every week for an hour, hour and a half. Another thing that we do is we have devotions together. We talk about life and faith and victory, and we share problems together. So it's more than just, how do I solve problems with generating more leads? Yes, that. How do I scale my company and put in systems and SOPs? Yes. But it's also, you get a sense that you're on mission together, and you'll learn in this life of this word called impartation, whether it be good or bad. Our lives are directly impacted by the people that we spend time with. And so by spending time with the right people, you end up becoming like those people just by proximity with those folks. Plus, they've all experienced the same problems that you're going to experience over time. And so here's the pathway forward for anybody that's watching this, that's interested in starting or scaling. If you've already started, I would still recommend these 3 steps. And if you're looking to start, I'd recommend these 3 steps. is start by getting your market analysis. You can get one by joining the As You Go network. I also have a QR code that I'll show you here in a second that you can scan. And then I'll find where these get uploaded to and put a link in it. But number one, get a market analysis where you can get clarity where you should be spending your time and your money. If not, you can be wasting a lot of time, a lot of money. Number two, join us on a boot camp. Come down to Nashville, experience our team, and kind of catch the vision of what your business could look like. Even if you've started one, you might say, okay, we've started, we've made a little money. Let's invest in us. Go to Nashville, have a little vacay, and also learn what business as mission can look like from the guys down at Brown's. And number three, you can join a coaching community, $300 a month, 6-month commitment. It's high impact. And we have all these business made simple videos that are inside of it. We got a private, a chat bot that we've created. I've created it both in chat and Gemini, where basically you can take a picture of something and then the bot tells you how to clean it or how to measure your KPIs, or, hey, if I want to do $250,000 this year, what should my scorecard look like? It does it all for you because we've programmed it with everything we have. But this closes the webinar. Again, my name is Joshua Brown, pressure washing pastor. This is a philosophy that not only can be done in pressure washing, but I believe any business can be turned into a kingdom minded business where you create jobs, make disciples, and serve the city. If you have any questions, feel free to answer them below, or you can reach out to me directly in the community. And until next time, grace and peace.